Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Market Pulse for the week starting 2nd August 2021 to 08 August 21. My name is Ajit Mahuli, the founder and mentor at LearnPriceActionTrading.com. Request you all to go through this disclaimer. Please note that MarketWise Solutions LLP, which is the legal name, legal entity for LearnPriceActionTrading.com, is not a SEBI registered entity, advisor, analyst. The session is purely for informational purposes to create awareness in the general public and does not constitute a recommendation or advice. All the views expressed here are personal. Let's dive into the markets. I'll take a look at all the indices and what they are doing. So since the month got over, we'll just take a quick look at what the monthly is doing. Again, a range bound movement for the second consecutive month after we created this demand zone here on Nifty at, so that was a rally base rally. So it's pretty extended from the next demand zone. We don't know whether this is going to become like a rally or a drop. We'll have to wait for more price action. But this both these monthly narrow range candle like Doji suggests that it's very indecisive, and lower time frames you'll definitely see sideways range. Weekly again, when you see it's still range bound, so the range continues to hold for this week as well. The range continues to hold for this, sorry, not red line, horizontal line. So it's again around approximately, let's say 16,000 to 15,500. So this is a 500 point range which Nifty has been oscillating for the last so many weeks, especially after this move up. Let's say from June 21 all the way to August. So 2 months it has been in range bound. We are all waiting either for a breakdown or a breakout so that new trend can get established on this. So that's a range on the weekly. The next demand zone for weekly is all the way here. If I have to just mark it based on our demand supply equation, that's the demand zone for Nifty on the weekly chart, approximately 14,900. Uh, go. The monthly trend is strong enough. Weekly trend has gone sideways. So has the daily trend. Again, if you see, the range is now very, very clear to you guys here, and that's the daily demand zone which is holding up. There is no overhead supply which is clear. That's the supply right now which is going to hold up uh, the index. So on the lower time frame, you will see the supply zone. So that's the range again for index. So let's say 16,000 to 15,500 for this week as well. We are, remember, in a range bound market, we are now at the high end of the range. So be cautious about longs. Once we break out and uh, uh, close above this and start moving, that's when you can expect a new trend to be established, and based on the new levels, take new entries. But right now we are at the upper end, so be careful about your longs. You should either book profits or trail your longs and not give away. If this supply hold and starts coming down, we could probably again come back all the way to 15,600. So I can show you that area on the 75-minute chart. So that is the demand zone which is still holding up on the so that's a 75-minute controlling zone, and this is the supply zone. Now here we have two supply zones. One is this, the original from where we wick to wick, if I market, we had a test, we fell down, and that's the next second supply zone which is also holding up, but it's a reaction to the prior level. So we are technically in the original supply zone, but it's a wide range supply zone. So be cautious. Maybe you can take shots on confirmation, those who are not into it, and those who are into in the short trade, just place your stop loss and wait. This could be your first target, approximately 5,742. And the second target would be this area of demand zone at around 15,500. That's what we have, range bound movement, but we are at the upper end of the range. So be cautious about longs, and you can short on confirmation. Bank Nifty, now this is slightly weaker as compared to Nifty. It's not getting on the monthly chart, again, range bound movement after hitting this area of demand zone. If you see, that's the area of demand zone from where we got a new all-time high. It's a monthly demand zone. We got a new all-time high. It has gone up all the way to approximately 37,600 or 700. That's a high, and It's now unable to go beyond 36,000. So the third month, 3 months are done, and we have not gone beyond 36,000. So the moment we go above 35,000, we see a sell-off coming in. So we'll see that on the smaller time frame. But the trend is, the dominant trend is up, but with a sideways consolidation here. Weekly, the sideways consolidation is easily seen. That is your supply zone, which is holding up on the weekly chart, and that's still the demand zone which is holding up on the weekly chart. We probably have some more demand zones on the smaller time frame here, at this area. Let me just template. Yeah. So that's a next weekly. So it's again in a very tight range of about 34,000 to 36,000. Um, uh, uh, the overall bullish trend is up, so we'll have to wait for a a little higher high, then the trend will get established and we can start doing it. Aggressive traders can take long positions as we come closer to the lower end of the range on Nifty, Bank Nifty. Right now we are at the upper range on the weekly, and the daily we opened with the gap down on 19 June, and that is still holding up. This is still holding up. There are supply zones on the smaller time frame, but at the same time, the lows are also holding up. Remember, so it's again a range bound movement. The range has now narrowed down, so we could see a breakout or a breakdown happening on the daily chart. That's your area of demand zone or your target for shorts. If the shorts if you are bearish on, or a short term income bearish view, that's the daily demand zone. That's where we will come to, and the range will be easily identified on the smaller time frame. So we have these two ranges here. That's the supply zone 1 and supply zone 2. So many hurdles for Bank Nifty to go and create a new high in the current time frame. Supply zone. And for the demand side, that is one, the daily demand zone, and this is your next demand zone. So it's again oscillating between this, let's say about 36,000 to 34,000. That's a range for Bank Nifty still. Okay, now in fact, this supply zone is still holding up. We have tested it multiple times. We need to first move above this and then above this for expecting a bullish thing. So we have three levels of hurdles for Bank Nifty to move to the upside, and also we're moving up from this. The demand is a little weakened. If we go down, this is the area where you can think about getting into some long positions based on confirmation. But the best area will be this. It's a nice trap level on the 75-minute chart for Bank Nifty, approximately around 33,300. Right, so that's a range for Bank Nifty. Let's go to the IT index, which has been doing well. Bullish run on all the time frames. Okay, so we had this level marked last time from where it pulled back and moved out. A good reward to risk ratio. So monthly, a strong and uptrend, but it is now pretty overextended. It has gone one way without any significant pullback. So we have to be cautious. It will IT sector primarily, most of it will be as a trade rather than as investment. It's too high to right now look at investments. Maybe investments are good once we come down to these areas of demand zone on the monthly chart, which is about nearly 3,000 points away. Nearly 3,000 points away. So strong trending stock. After it broke out, it went up. Remember, Nifty could also do the same thing. It is also oscillating right now like this. It could also break out. So wait for those signals to break out and then go aggressively long. That's the other demand zone that is right now in place. And this one is the best one on the weekly chart for us to take some swing positions. If you are in long in any of the IT stocks, just hold on, trail it. If you are not, shorts are not allowed because it's an uptrending sector. Most of the IT stocks are up, so you can go individual stock shorts, but based on whether they have supply zones or no. So that's the next demand zone that you would be looking at on the daily. And the next one is here. This is many trap levels that you can see, but right now the range is going to be about 30,000. For short-term income, it will be about 30,000 to 31,000. And for swing perspective, probably about 28 to 30 for short-term trading, this week's trading. And 75, again, no supplies, overhead supply zone. You can create short-term income like an intraday positions to go long at this area of demand zone. And swing positions, maybe you can create at this area based on individual stocks. demand supply equation. So these are the lower time frame, no supply, so no shorting on this uptrending sector. Bullish bias on IT. Now this is the pharma index, which had some bad news. I mean, not bad news. I mean, a big correction that happened on some of the stocks. Most of the pharma stocks, if you see after Dr. Reddy results, it just came down, but it has still held up this area of demand zone on the daily chart. We don't have any supply. That's the only supply that we have where we have come and stopped right now. So that's the range for pharma index for the daily. That's a daily range for pharma index. So it's we are on high on the curve. So look for confirmation shots. Once we go beyond this, you can get more bullish or aggressively bullish. Again, uptrending on the monthly chart, but like Nifty, this is also range bound. If you see on the monthly, we came back to that weekly demand zone and moved out immediately. Now we'll have to wait for some more price action here. It's now hit a supply zone. So wait for some more price action to go short. Aggressive shots could be initiated once we go beyond this area here. Once you go beyond this area, the path of least resistance will be towards this. So that is the area. That is the small move that you can capture for short-term income trading on Nifty Pharma. Otherwise, we are on we are high on the curve, so I would advise caution for longs and short space of confirmation. So again, range bound movement at the upper end Nifty Pharma, CNX PSU Bank. Now this sector has been doing well for the last uh, couple of weeks. It went down and it started moving out. We had a gap up. We had a nice move up today, but remained range bound. Uh, Let me just remove everything. Yeah, so on the monthly again, we are trading in a monthly supply zone, though it has been tested, and then we are moving up. Good possibility that if an overall index supports, my bank Nifty supports, we could see this moving all the way to 30 to 31,080. So that's approximately 3,200. So this is the area of supply zone that it can eventually move to. That's a weekly supply zone. And right now we are holding up this area of supply zone here. So it's at a very critical point, high on the curve, but trending up. So you got to be cautious with your longs. Your swing positions can be enabled based on confirmation on lower time frames. Um, this could be another entry point for us on the weekly to go long on the PSU banking sector. This is a weekly demand zone. So that's the curve. It's trending up. So on the daily, when you see it was moving down in a compressive manner after hitting that supply, we came down, but the demand zone is still far away here, the daily demand zone, which is aligning with the weekly and monthly. So if we come here, long positions can be taken. Right now, it is a little bit aggressive. So short-term income longs are possible because we're seeing a move happening in this sector for the last 3 days, and we haven't broken anything. So we could see it moving or trying to tackle again all the way to 25.75. That's the move that you want to capture on the short-term income side, like an intraday or a couple of days trade setup. That's the best long area of a swing. This is confirmation short area now because we have tested this multiple times. So the best supply zone or the probability is that it might go and attack this supply zone that is available at around 2800. So that is probably where it might move to, but you'll have to wait for smaller time frame signals and then take the call. Right now, it looks like the trend is shifting up for the PSU banking sector after hitting this area of demand zone. So though we have broken it, we still moved out of that area. We could easily target moving up to this supply zone because there is not no supply here, so you can take some aggressive bullish bets on a pullback. On a pullback, let's say if we come down to this area, this will be very aggressive buying on Nifty, PSU Bank Index. So this will be the range if you're looking at an aggressive long setup up to this supply, or at least the first target would be somewhere close to 2500. So we have about a 60-point range, which you can pick up some good PSU banking stocks for intraday or a short-term income. And new long positions, swing long positions, either we move out of this higher time frame supply or when we come back to 2300. That's the range for PSU Bank, short-term bullish, but overall it's still range bound and trading at higher areas of supply. Now, CNX Energy has hit the lower level on monthly and weekly. Let's say, let me remove everything here. So it's hit this area of demand zone. Last week it hit. This week it is showing some signs of moving out of that demand zone. Overall, on the monthly, if you see it's trending up, weekly also it is overall trending up, but this was a corrective move that happened in the energy sector. We spoke about it last time that there would be a good up move that we can expect in the energy sector. It's also pretty much closer to the monthly demand zone. On the daily, if you see after this move down, after hitting this gap demand zone, that's the daily demand zone, which gave a new high. If you see the entire process of making a new high and trading above it started at this point. Okay, though the original trend change happened in this area, but this is the one which pushed it. So there is a good likelihood that we can energy sector can move up all the way up to this area of supply. So that's the first level that we are expecting it to move based on the current price action, and the second level will be at this area. So that's a range. We are moving up from a good area of demand zone, maybe on a 75-minute chart. It's a smaller time frame trend. The trend is still down on all time frames. These will be aggressive. We can still wait. If overall Nifty and Bank Nifty are negative, then maybe you wait for it to come to this level. But if markets tomorrow start with bullish or positive bias, then you can aggressively take intraday positions at these area. So that's energy sector demand zone. But remember, we also have a supply zone which is very close by. So the best idea would be let it break this, because once it breaks this, the path of least resistance will be at least to 19,750. Then we can target this entire move. If this doesn't break, you come here. If this breaks, go aggressively long. So a little bit aggressively bullish bias on the energy sector, but wait for some more price action tomorrow to initiate longs. Shorts only allowed at the top end of the range on the monthly, on the weekly, and the daily. That is about 19,800. So more bullish bias than bearish bias. If you are short, then maybe you might want to book out your shorts and wait for prices to retrace here for shorts, for short-term income shorts, or let it take off this and you can initiate new long positions. FMCG, now this has been also doing well so far, but last week this sector has closed pretty negative. The whole week's gain were engulfed completely. I mean, so it has been taken off. So when you go back on the monthly, the trend is strong and up. The next demand zone that we can see on the monthly is, let's say I'm going to assume here, based on smaller time frames, there'll be a demand zone there. So this is a monthly demand zone. That's where some new buying can happen on the weekly. Again, after this nice up move, we are seeing some sideways consolidation and bearish pressure. So this bearish pressure could likely continue up to this point, and then we will reassess the situation at that point, that is 35,114. And the next best area for buying from a swing perspective is going to be this area, about 32,500. So the range will first initially for the few for this week will be about 36,750 to 35,000. That will be the range. We are at top end of the range, though there is no supply zone on the weekly and above. Just be careful because we are very overextended. So maybe confirmation shorts or longs will wait till we come down to wholesale price area. So when I take a look at the daily chart, again, the range bound movement, next demand zone is here on a daily chart. So that's your range for the FMCG index. We are high on the curve on the daily and weekly time frame. So there is a good chance that we could start moving down. So based on confirmation or individual stocks in the FMCG sector which are giving good reward to risk on the short side, you can take it. Longs can be initiated once we come here. This is short-term income long. This will be the swing long area. So range bound, but with a downward bias, more room for it to go to good wholesale price areas. Right now we are in retail. So for an intraday trader or a short-term income trader, that's your range, 36,400 to 35,700. And swing traders will have to wait for prices to come back to about 35,000 for initiating new long position. So a slightly bearish bias, a short-term income bearish bias, but overall sideways range. So buying is allowed only when we come to the lower end of the range. CNX Finance. Now, this again, like Bank Nifty, is not really moving fast. It is range bound. Monthly, still the trend is up. It came to that area of demand zone and started moving up when I show you the monthly areas. So that's the demand zone on monthly chart. So when we come to that point, there'll be good buy opportunities coming in, but it's still range bound between 17,751 to 15,300. That's a range on the monthly. On the weekly, the range, it's again sideways, but with the immediate, it was downtrend, then it was went up and again sideways on the weekly chart. That's because we are trading in this area of supply zone. Just like Bank Nifty we have the same range for CNX Finance, primarily because most of these CNX Finance constituents are a part of Bank Nifty. So high on the curve, you can take confirmation shots to target at least up to 15,520. That's the range. So on a daily, when you see moving high on the curve, started to slightly move down, like Bank Nifty, it has got the gap. So first, that is going to be the hurdle. Till that is not taken away, you won't expect a fall up to, oh, sorry, rise for a new level, or it could easily come down to this area. So there are multiple smaller time frame levels, but maybe this is where your swing long positions are valid, and that's your daily supply, which is right now holding up. So that's the range for uh, CNX Finance. We are at the upper end of the range, so based on more confirmations, you can go short. So intraday trader ranges are about this. Short-term income trader range is this, demand zone at around 16,200, and the supply range is here. So that's the range. We are in the middle of the curve. Maybe we might want to wait for some more price action before you decide to go long or short. We're in the middle of the curve. If you are in shorts, hold on. If you are in longs, also hold on. We are at the middle. So short-term income trades possible, but only at the extremes. CNX Auto has started, it has hit the demand zone as we had discussed on the monthly. So these are all the levels from the last market pulse. So if you see, we came to the monthly. On the monthly chart, we are trading from a monthly supply zone. This is a monthly supply zone on CNX Auto. That's the monthly demand. So let me just remove everything and replot it. That's the monthly supply and that's the monthly demand. So that's a range. It's in a very narrow range. So lower end of the range you can buy, upper end of the range you can sell till the range gets broken, and then we will take a look at new. This is a very good area to get into some cash positions on the auto stocks. Right now we have hit the supply and are coming down on the monthly. Again, similar thing we are seeing on the weekly, we are range bound. We have come and hit this RBR and are trying to move up with gap up opening that has happened this week, and it started trying to move up. So based on the weekly, this is a little low on the curve. So avoid shorts till we reach again up to 10,600. Shorts only at this or once we break this area of demand zone. Remember, this is also a narrow range. So be cautious and trade for reward to risks rather than looking for higher targets. Uh, so this is the area of demand zone from where we are moving on the weekly. Even on the daily, that's the demand zone on the daily, and there's another demand zone here, drop basically. So multiple levels of demand. That's the daily supply which I expected to move to. So there's nothing in between. Maybe smaller time frame hurdles will be there, but looks like the price will move up to 10,440. So another about 250 points move is expected before we decide where the trend will shift, because it will be on high on the curve. lower range, bullish bias on the auto sector. So um, you can look at re-entering some of the auto stocks in these areas of demand zone on the smaller time frame. So that's a smaller time frame. This is a very typical move which can easily get covered by 2 or 3 candles. So those are your, so the upper one will be really aggressive level, but the real demand zone is from the lower area. So based on overall index and the auto index, when it opens tomorrow, day after tomorrow, you can decide or just wait for this supply to be breached. Once this is breached, then you can take aggressive long positions in some of the auto stocks. So that's a range for Nifty Auto, slightly bullish bias, but wait for a retracement to take a bullish position, and the targets are going to be somewhere close to 10,400 to 10,500 on the CNX Auto. CNX Infra. Now, this is we discussed that this is a very bullish sector and is likely to move up further. But remember, on the monthly, we are very, very high on the curve. So though prices will still move up, okay, still move up till we hit this monthly supply zone, which you can see on the smaller time frames. It's uptrending, but it is far overextended. So bullish trades are fine, but they'll be aggressive. So you can use strict stop loss and take your bullish trade setups. So when I come to the weekly chart, you can see that this has been nearly taken off. So the next point for the infrastructure is for 4,700. And if let's say we correct from here, since we haven't still gone beyond it and there is a smaller time frame supply there, we can look at initiating new long positions at around 4,200 to target 4,700. So on the daily, the buying range or the pullback range is going to be till 4,200. Then we initiate longs and targets will be 4,700. After, at 4,700, shorts are still not allowed. We'll have to wait for some price confirmation before we decide to go long. That's a weekly chart. When we go to the daily chart, you will see all the relevant areas of demand and supply. So we still right now are in a supply which has been tested. Uh, so there was supply came in tested, moving up. Good probability that it will move out of this since that's the area which is holding up the infra index on the daily. So that's a range for infra. Once we break 45.25 and close above it, another 200-point rally can be expected in the infra stock. So you can look at some good bullish trending infra stocks and go long at smaller time frames once this is broken, or wait for it to come back to this area of demand zone to go long. So that is the sector. Again, high on the curve, so be cautious. Wait for price to either break out or then come down to initiate new short positions. So still bullish bias, but very high on the curve. So no new bullish trades till we close above this or come all the way to 4,300. Those who are holding bullish positions can just keep trailing their positions. CNX Media again, this has also started to move up, but remember, this is also trading in a monthly supply. Though low on the curve, it is still trading in a monthly supply. And that monthly supply has held the prices for a longer time. So if you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months of activity, prices have not been able to go beyond 1940. So let's see whether it does it. But the location is not good for longs. Uh, Good long positions. I mean, let's say if you're looking at a very, very strong uh, stock to buy, and if everything comes down, this is the area where you should buy some of the media stocks for a good target of this. This is going to be the range, the broader range on the monthly chart. Since the month candle is over, we are looking at the monthly chart as well. On the weekly, again, we are in the supply zone, high on the curve. We came down and started moving up again. Good long positions available at this area of demand, that is 1620. That's the weekly demand zone. That's area. We are high on the curve. So be cautious. Shorts on confirmation, longs um, will be aggressive, valid but aggressive. On the daily, we have a lot of supply zones stacked. So that's the supply zone on the daily. And that's a demand zone on the daily. So this is the range on the daily chart for Nifty Media. And the upper range is the weekly range is here. This whole thing, which you can expect it to go a little bit deeper also up to the supply of 1855. So shorts once we reach here based on more price action. But if you are interested in going long, that's a good area to go long. Short-term income, again, like a 2-day trade or an intraday trade setup. This is the area where you can go long to target this supply zone on the 75-minute chart. So that's a range on a 75-minute chart. We're right now in the middle. We have seen that prices are moving up from this area of demand zone. So wait for a pullback to the marked areas of demand zone. It has actually breached it. So it went down to the lower one and moved out. So this is a slightly bullish now for short-term income, maybe intraday to the couple of days trade, but you can buy only when it comes here. If you bought, wait for prices to hit 1830 to 1850 for booking your profits, and your shorts are going to be based on confirmation once we reach that retail pricing area. So bullish bias on pullback, but CNX Realty, again, this is another sector which is doing really well, just like the infra. This is also moving up, but it has multiple supply zones on all time frames. So on the daily, sorry, on the monthly, if you see, that's the supply zone that we are right now talking about. That's number one supply on the monthly chart. So prices are likely to move towards 458.60. That's the next monthly supply, and we could have a very good demand zone here. So multiple demand zones lower. Yeah, so that's a one demand zone, and this is the other demand zone. So it has moved up now. So short-term income longs are possible till we hit the monthly supply zone. And if you pull back here into this area of demand zone, you can start getting bullish into some of the realty stocks. So on the weekly, again, when you see similar demand zones, this is a live candle, so we'll have to wait for it to close before we take this upper RBR as a demand area. But it has good room to move up. So if you see on the weekly, the supply starts at 474. So there is a good likelihood that it will move all the way to 474, 475, the realty sector. And on the daily, this is the demand zone here again that we'll have to wait for. So if you see this RBR from where the entire move started, if I have to mark it on the daily, that's the daily demand zone. That's a range for CNX Realty, very bullish outlook. It could go all the way to 465 to 475, but longs will be on a pullback. So let's see if there is anything on the 75-minute which you can rely on to go long. So probably that's the only area where you can think about going long on the Realty index. Right now it's at about 418, maybe another 18 points move down for a new target of 465.70. If you're holding long positions, hold on to it, keep trailing. Midcap, now again, this sector has given a new high. It has broken out of that sector. So bullish bias on this. But remember, they are also very super overextended from their higher time frame demand zones. Next best demand zone on the monthly is, weekly is here uh, for swing positions. That is a weekly demand zone. No supply zone, so you cannot short. I mean, of course, you can be individual stock specific for shorting based on some weaker mid cap stocks because we are very overextended. But this nice bullish run on Friday, Monday. So good areas of demand have been formed at this point, and new areas of demand are formed here. So bullish bias, but wait for a pullback. This is getting overextended. Uh, So that's the area of demand zone which you can look for going long on a pullback. 25 600. Right now we are at 28 260, very far. Shorts only on confirmation, but I would say avoid shorts. Wait for a pullback to go longs. So bullish bias on the mid cap segment. Similar up move that has happened in the small cap segment. Everything is moving up nicely. New highs printed, all smaller time frame supply zones taken off. But remember, the range is still getting narrower. Okay, even though we gapped up, we are not having a bigger range. We are just remaining in a range bound. So that does not show like a heavy clear signal. We'll have to wait for a nice, good explosive candle before we decide that the levels have changed. But right now, that's the demand zone we should rely on the daily chart. No supply, so no shorting unless you are in a stock specific short. Um Short-term income longs can be initiated at this. Aggressive longs can also be taken at this. So these are the two levels for short-term income longs, and swing longs are all going to be again close to 10,271. So bullish bias, wait for some retracements and hold on to your long positions, keep trailing so that you can extract more from the markets as it is trending up. So metal, now this is again an all-time high index. So monthly super bullish all-time high, found a new demand zone at around 5200. We are right now at 5780. So wait for a pullback to buy. That's the best demand zone, but it is too far. I'm not sure if unless there is some bad news, it's very difficult to expect that this will come. It'll come here, but not immediately. When, I don't know. But definitely prices will retrace back to key areas of demand and supply, and this will definitely be a key area of demand on the monthly chart. On the weekly, we have broken that consolidation and moved out this week also. So last week we moved out of that and gave a new high, but this week we still are subdued. We'll have to wait for some more price movement, but that's a demand zone. So if we have a pullback here to this demand zone on the weekly chart, yes, you're allowed to be a buyer in some of the metal stocks, stronger metal stocks. You can take a look to buy at that area. So no supply zone. It has broken out of this couple of 2 or 3 month consolidation. So you could expect it to move up very, still further higher. Okay, but if you're an aggressive trader, so today's price action and the last week's price action, last day of the last week's price action actually suggests that there could be a pause in the movement up. We are seeing rejections. So wait for prices to pull back to these areas of demand on the daily for us to go long. Shorts, counter trend shorts based on confirmations are valid, but will be very aggressive. So avoid shorts, wait for a pullback below 5400 to initiate new long positions on the metal sector. And the last one is this India VIX. Now remember, we are very low on volatility. Last week there was a spike that happened and it came down. But again, this week, if you see, we could show some attempt to move up on the weekly. Based on the weekly chart, this is likely to, this was the first place where it could have moved to, which it did last week. Sorry about that. Let me just mark a supply zone. Yeah, that's a weekly supply zone on this. And the next level on the weekly, once this has been tested multiple times. So if it breaks, then you could see it moving to approximately 19. Let me show it to you on the smaller time frames. So this is a around 10.5 to 9.5 is the low end of the range for VIX. VIX has been there for a long time, so it is also quite possible that we could remain subdued here. So focus on the index. But if this starts moving up, then index could probably pause and turn down. And if we expect VIX to move up further, then these are your areas of supply on the daily and weekly chart. So once Nifty, if VIX starts to move up all the way to 19 and 20, you could see a significant corrective move in the index. So we are low end of the thing. So be cautious about volatility rises. It can just happen suddenly without anybody's knowledge. Okay, remember this is the place from where this whole up move has happened in India VIX, and we are at that place now. Though we tested multiple times, we're oscillating. We are not going below the low end. So just be cautious based on this, but we still have bullish bias on the index, though they are consolidating. Wait for a range breakout to go long. All right, so that's what we have. Cautious approach towards the market since we are at the upper end of the range. You could see some good confirmation shots or wait for pullbacks for longs. All right, have a safe trading week. Uh, and trade cautiously. Thank you.